Michael DeLon, it's great to see you again. It's been a few months since we had a chat on your podcast, but welcome to the Simplifying Entrepreneurship podcast.
Pete, thank you, man. It is good to see you again, talk with you. I'm super excited. It's going to be a great conversation. It's fun for me when I find somebody like you we're like two peas in a pod, really, at one
There
level.
you go.
We speak at the same language, so it's going to be great.
Yeah, a lot of fun stuff, and we have a lot of interesting connections in the background we were chatting about before too. So yeah, I think it's a great conversation, and talking about books today and entrepreneurial books and all sorts of different things. We'll kick it off by this great question of when you were in prison, how did you escape?
Yeah, that's a great question. So everything for me started the day I escaped from prison, really, is when my business started. Now, it wasn't a literal prison, okay? It
Yeah.
was an emotional prison because I was stuck in a job that I hated at a ministry that I loved.
Yeah.
So, real quick background, my wife and I have been married 32 years, since 1990.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We grew up, both of us grew up in church, but nobody ever taught us how to be married. So the first 5 years of our marriage were like just like this, because we're opposite. Went to a marriage conference by a ministry called Family Life. Learned God's blueprints for marriage. I didn't know he had them. So anyway, our marriage changed and grew. And then in about 2000, God called us to be missionaries to the family at Family Life, which was in Little Rock, Arkansas. So we were in Indiana, raised our support, moved to Family Life. I thought I hit nirvana, Pete. Gosh, this ministry changed our marriage. It was great. I was getting impacting on the marriage. Why would I ever leave? Well,
Yeah.
I climbed the corporate ladder. I was serving on the leadership team. They went through corporate reorganizations. Remember
Mhm.
those? Well,
Yeah.
after the third one, my name was no longer on the leadership team.
Yeah.
And so they started shuffling me around the ministry. After 2 years, I said, I got to get out of here because I was just being sucked dry.
Yeah.
I talked to my wife, prayed, and God said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to help small business owners with marketing because they hate it. And I love it. That's my background, is in marketing and advertising. So on January 1st of 2013, I escaped prison and I started a marketing consulting firm.
Yeah.
And I would call you and I'd say, Pete, I think I can help you grow your business. You'd meet with me. We'd have a great conversation. And you'd say, now, Michael, what have you done in the last few years? I said, well, I've helped build marriages and families. And you'd say, that's so honorable. Way to go, Michael. Oh, look at the time. I've got another meeting. You'd usher me out the door. I wasn't getting any clients. And I was the marketing guy. And I thought, okay, I got to fix this. So I went back to my church one day, a second floor, pacing the hallways, praying, calling out to God, saying, God, how do I help Pete? Because I know I can. And God just kind of spoke to my heart. He's like, Michael, why don't you take all of your marketing strategies and put them in a book? And so I did. I wrote my first book, Pete, back in 2013. It's called On Marketing.
Yeah.
Then I would call you. I'd set an appointment. I would mail a copy of my book to you. A week later, I'd walk into your office, and there it was. My book was on your desk, dog-eared, highlighted, and underlined. You'd read my book. And in that meeting, you'd say, now, Michael, in your book, you said, how do you help me do that? And you'd hire me. And the next guy hired me. And I thought, wow, this is really cool. So what changed between those two meetings, Pete? Did my background in ministry change? No, not at all.
Nope.
Did my understanding of marketing change? Nope. The only thing that changed was how you thought of me. Because when you got a copy of my book, you instantly saw me as a marketing expert.
Exactly.
And your ears were attuned to whatever I had to say. That changed everything for me. Yeah. And I said, man, why don't other business owners do this? Well, you know how hard it is to write a book.
Yes, I do.
I created a process where you create your book without writing a word and use it to grow your business. And we'll talk about all of that. But that's how I escaped from prison and started doing what I do today.
Yeah. I mean, we talk a lot in my sort of system about creating authority.
Yes.
And well, what's the word at the beginning of authority? Author. And, that's what you became. And that's how you had that sort of instant recognition right along the way, is this idea of having authority before you even met the person. Right?
That's right. Yeah. I was able to, as we term it, precondition you to hire me before we ever talked. Because that first meeting I had with you after I mailed you my book was actually a second or maybe a third meeting, because you had spent a couple of hours with me in the pages of my book, learning about me, writing out questions, thinking about, okay, I like this guy. This is interesting. So that when I met you, it really wasn't a sales call. It was more of a, what's going on, Pete? And how can I help you? It radically changed everything. And the cool thing is, and we'll get to this, but I love books because I wrote this in 2013, Pete. I still use it today to gain clients and get referrals and grow my revenue. It has shelf life. I love
Exactly.
it.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. And I mean, we're doing it too. I know you have a podcast. I've been on your podcast. You're on my podcast today. That's building this sort of authority too. I mean, all the different ways add up to how you can help your client, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And from that perspective, you've said it a couple of times, but around this idea of why do you, after creating this book and doing all the other things around it, say that small business owners should never write a book?
Yeah, absolutely. And they shouldn't, right? This book just about killed me and my family, Pete, when we were writing it. Ugh, because you look at a page and you start typing, and you're like, no, that's not what I want to do. You hit backspace.
Yeah.
It's not what you get paid to do. Most of my clients are not great at writing,
Yeah.
but what they are great at is communicating what they do. And so we tell people never write a book. You should always speak to write your book.
Love it.
And our entire process is built on that, where we have writers who interview you kind of like this. We build the outline and
Mhm.
all that. But even if you don't use a company like me, use Microsoft Word or Google Docs. They all have that dictate function.
For sure.
Build a basic outline and speak your content. Let them dictate it. Then go back and edit, or better yet, hire an editor. But get the content out of your head and onto paper as quickly as you can. That's what kills most business owners. They just spend too many nights and weekends and long hours trying to get it right. It just don't write your book, speak to write your book.
I love that. As somebody who communicates orally all the time, I mean, it's just the way I love to do things. Do the video, and personally, I send it to Otter, and
Yes.
Otter translates everything and all that kind of thing. It's just a wonderful way of getting the stuff out of our heads,
Yeah.
because most of the people listening to this show are like you and I, Michael, and they're business owners. They got a ton
Yeah.
of stuff on their plate. They're thinking about things 10 steps ahead,
Yeah.
and you just have to get it out and get it onto paper, get it into your digital transcript or whatever the case is, so that the idea is captured. One of my coaches in the past calls it his external brain. I like that term.
I love it.
Get it out of your internal brain and into the external brain.
Yes. Yeah. Because it'll kill you. We will go inside with the mind way too much. But yeah, get it out. You can talk about your business all day long. I always tell, just build a simple outline. What are the things that you talk about all day, every day with
Yeah.
prospects and clients? What are their pain points? That's your outline. Start talking. How do you help
Yeah.
solve that problem? Bring stories to the table, right? And pretty soon you've got a book that's 60-70% done content wise. Now you need the other back end of it that most people don't think about, with the editing and proofreading and graphics and all that. But
Yeah.
getting the content out, that's the fastest, easiest way to do it, is to speak your content. And you don't have to do it in front of an audience. You can do it
No.
with your iPhone in the closet. I don't care. And then get it transcribed, and you're home free.
Yeah, love that. Love that. We all want to be home free, right? Save us time, save us aggravation, save us effort, all of those things. And, one of the other things we were chatting a little bit about is this idea that you tell entrepreneurs, don't be a coffee bean. What does that mean?
Yeah. Oh, Pete, I'm a coffee connoisseur. I love coffee, right?
Me
If you
too.
open up a bag of coffee and you
Yeah.
pour them out on your table right in front of you, coffee beans, they look the same and they smell the same.
Mhm.
And in business, if you look like and sound like all of your competitors, then you're giving your audience no reason to choose you over everybody else. You're not differentiated from them.
Yeah.
And so what you need to do is find a way to quickly differentiate yourself from everybody else. And that begins really with a clear message. And whenever we have a client, we always start with their message. What is unique and distinct about you, Pete Mohr? What is it that separates you? I know you've got to process your 5 Ps.
Yeah.
That's unique. That separates you. Let's camp on that and create your book around that, or your podcast around that, or your videos around that, because it compels me to lean in.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just another marketing coach, right? And there
Yeah.
are 2 or 3 of those around, right?
Couple.
And but in every market, everybody looks the same. Their websites look the same. Don't do that. Bring yourself to the table and give me a reason to lean in, to opt in, to hang around a little bit, and to realize you're different than everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, that's such a key piece, is that differentiating factor. And sometimes, differentiating repels,
It
and
does.
that's okay too.
I love that. I tell
Yeah.
people, so here's my story around all of that.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for a decade. First 6 years or so, I was trying to be the person I thought you wanted me to be. So I
Yeah.
really avoided video for a long time because I didn't have the right equipment. My studio wasn't great. I wasn't dressed properly. And about 3 years ago, I don't know, something hit me and I said, you know what? Hooey on all of that. I'm going to be Michael. And if you like Michael, then great. Let's have a conversation and see how I can serve you. But if
Yeah.
I offend you or you think I'm just the wackiest guy around, great, go away because we won't work well together.
That's it.
I'm not mean about it. It's just me. And what you get here, Pete, is what you get in my coaching programs and in our book. This is me. And
Yeah.
it really just lowered a bunch of the stress that I was encountering because I just now I get to show up as Michael. And it just brought so much freedom. And what I find, there are a lot of people who like Michael.
Hey, that's a good thing.
It is. So it just makes it's just like I almost in a sense, it's not that I don't try, but I didn't have to try as much. It's like,
Yeah.
this is me. This is how we can serve you. Are we a good fit? Let's do
Yeah.
some things together.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And when you talk about being a good fit, I know one of the things that you have is the credibility calculator. And credibility is such an important piece
Yes.
of being a good fit, right? The authority, the credibility, all of the things around when somebody comes into your sphere of influence. And
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about why you created the credibility calculator, what it does, and give us a little lowdown.
Yeah. So the calculate for a long time I've been talking about credibility. We hear about authority and credibility. But I started asking people, what is it? What is
Mhm.
credibility? And nobody could really give me a solid answer. And they kind of knew what it was. And so we did a little research and kind of figured it out that credibility happens on really in the mind of your audience. It's how they think of you, but there are certain things that build credibility in the mind of your audience. And so we compiled these 20 items and we've created an online calculator. It's at paperbackexpert.com, our website. It's just right at the top, big red line. You can't miss it. You can take it. It takes under 5 minutes answering 20 questions. And we'll produce for you a credibility score from 0 to 100. And then after you get your score, there's a 5 video series that we've put together. Each of them are about like 5 or 7 minutes that show you what to do to increase your credibility in the eyes of your audience.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's really just a good snapshot. Everybody has a credit score.
Yep.
We try and we work to improve it, right?
Right.
Well, you have a credibility score whether you know it
For
or not.
sure.
So you should come
Yes.
and take it. It's a free thing, and you'll know your score and then how to improve it. Whether you ever work with us or not, doesn't matter. I just want to help you grow in credibility and how does your audience think about credibility because it's probably different than what you might think.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I've really enjoyed our conversation here today, Michael, and
Thank you.
getting into all this great stuff about how creating a small book can be really part of your marketing mix and your future. And
Yeah.
Michael's a great guy, can help you out to make this happen. And of course, we'll include all the information in the show notes as well on how to get a hold of him. But Michael, tell everybody here one more time. I know you mentioned your website already, but
Mhm.
go ahead, tell them one more time how to reach you if they want to learn a little bit more about what it is you do around your coaching and your book creation for entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. It's paperbackexpert.com. And from that's kind of like the hub of the wheel for all things Michael. So yeah,
Yeah,
paperbackexpert.com is the place to go.
awesome. Thanks so much, Michael. It's been great seeing you again.
You're welcome, Pete. Thanks for having me. It's been a joy.